I used to wake up every morning with my heart racing, paralyzed by the thought of what could go wrong today. Public speaking made me physically sick. Job interviews left me trembling, and even simple social interactions felt like walking through a minefield. Then I discovered something that changed everything, a 2,000-year-old secret that transformed a sickly Roman boy into the most powerful man on earth. What if I told you that the same technique used by Marcus Aurelius to lead an empire could make you completely fearless in just 30 days? For the next 7 minutes, I am going to share the 3 secrets of Stoicism that turned a fearful kid into a fearless leader, and how you can use them to become fearless yourself. These techniques aren't some quick fix or magic pill. They are the result of thousands of years of study and reflection from some of humanity's greatest minds. In fact, they're so simple that most people miss them entirely. First, understand that Marcus Aurelius wasn't born fearless. Historical records show that he was an anxious, sickly child who struggled with self-doubt and physical weakness, yet he became the most powerful emperor in Roman history, leading armies into battle and making decisions that affected millions of lives. The secret wasn't in his bloodline or his wealth. It was in a simple mental framework that anyone can learn. But here's what most people do. I aren't know about Stoicism. It's not about suppressing emotions or becoming emotionless. It's about something far more powerful and far more dangerous to those who want to control you. Let's dive deeper into the 3 principles that changed Marcus Aurelius' life forever. First, the dichotomy of control. Imagine you standing in front of a crowd about to give the most important presentation of your life. Your traditional mind screams about everything that could go wrong. Forgetting your words, being judged, failing completely. But a Stoic mind asks one simple question. What here is actually under my control? You can't control the audience's reaction, the technology working perfectly, or even how your voice sounds. But you can control your preparation, your effort, and your response to whatever happens. This is not just positive thinking. It is a complete rewiring of how your brain processes fear itself. By focusing only on what you can control and accepting what you can't, you remove the fuel that drives fear. But here's where it gets really interesting. The Stoics discovered that 99% of our fears aren't about what is happening to us, right? Now they about imaginary futures that may never exist. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his personal journal, "Today I escaped anxiety," or "No, I discarded it because it was within me, in my own perceptions, not outside." Think about your biggest fear right now. Is it actually happening to you at this moment? Or is it a story you're telling yourself about what might happen? This is what Seneca meant when he said we suffer more in imagination than in reality. When we allow our minds to wander into the realm of possibilities, we create a breeding ground for fear. But when we bring our attention back to the present moment, we regain our power. Second, rehearse fear. The Stoics tell us that the key to overcoming our fears lies in facing them head on. At first, this might seem counterintuitive. Wouldn't we naturally avoid the things that scare us? But here's the truth. Fear thrives in the shadows. It grows stronger when we try to ignore or escape it. So instead of running away from our fears, the Stoics encourage us to rehearse them. Now, you're probably thinking, wait, doesn't that mean you embrace the things that scare you the most? And you're not wrong. But it's not quite what I meant. There's a subtle but crucial difference. When we rehearse our fears, we're not trying to create anxiety. We're simply acknowledging them and imagining how we might respond if they were to occur. This technique has been practiced for centuries and has been proven by modern science to work. It's called premeditatio malorum, which translates to the foresight of evils. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, described this practice as looking ahead and calmly considering possible obstacles and challenges. He said, "Don't let this worry you. This is what you were made for." And that's the key phrase. Don't let this worry you. The goal is not to become anxious, but to prepare. Third, imagine yourself from above. This may sound like a new agey concept, but it's one of the most powerful tools the Stoics use to manage their emotions. It's a technique that helps us put our problems into perspective. When we feel overwhelmed by a situation, it's easy to lose sight of the bigger picture. But when we imagine ourselves from a higher vantage point, we can see our problems in a new light. Marcus Aurelius used this technique before every major decision, writing, "Remember that very little disturbs the equanimity of the mind once you realize how small and transient all things are." But there's something even more profound happening here that most people miss entirely. The Stoics understood something that modern neuroscience is only now proving. Fear is just a chemical reaction. And like any chemical reaction, it can be controlled through practice. When Epictetus, who spent years as a slave before becoming Rome's greatest philosophy teacher, said "You are not your thoughts," he was describing what we now call neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself. Every time you choose courage over fear, you're literally rebuilding your neural pathways. But here's the twist that changes everything about how you see fear forever. And now for the payoff. What if I told you that the Stoics did not actually want to eliminate fear? They wanted to transform it into something else entirely. Marcus Aurelius wrote something that scholars kept hidden for centuries because it was too dangerous. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He discovered that fear is your enemy. It has your compass pointing directly toward what you need to do most. Every fear you have is actually a roadmap to your greatest potential. Afraid of public speaking. That's where your influence lies. Terrified of starting a business. That's where your freedom waits. Anxious about relationships. That's where your deepest connections are hiding. The Stoics knew something we've forgotten. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It is feeling the fear and acting anyway. But they took it one step further. They discovered that when you consistently move toward your fears instead of away from them, something extraordinary happens. You don't just overcome fear. You start to crave the growth that comes with it. If you want to get better at public speaking, you have to start showing up to those events that scare you. If you want to grow your business, you have to start reaching out to those clients who terrify you. If you want to improve your relationships, you have to start confronting those conflicts that scare you. When you follow your fears, you open yourself up to a world of possibilities that were previously closed off to you. And now for the resolution. Marcus Aurelius died knowing he had lived a life without regrets, not because he never felt fear, but because he never let fear make his decisions for him. The last entry in his journal reads, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate associates you." He faced plagues, wars, betrayals, and the constant weight of absolute power. Yet he remained unshakable, not because he was superhuman, but because he had a system. The same system that can transform your relationship with fear forever. Start tomorrow morning. When you feel that familiar anxiety rising, ask yourself, what here is under my control? Focus only on that. When your mind starts spinning stories about imaginary futures, remind yourself, this is not happening right now. And when something scares you, instead of running away, lean in and ask, what is this fear trying to teach me? The path to fearlessness isn't about becoming someone else. It is about becoming who you really are when fear stops making your choices for you. If you enjoyed this video, I highly recommend checking out this video on the 3 C's that will change your life forever. These ancient principles have stood the test of time and have the power to transform your life in ways you never imagined. But remember, true strength comes not from the absence of fear, but from the courage to face it head on. Thank you so much for watching.